The platform floated quietly in space, far from any star, planet, or ship. Darkness stretched in every direction, endless and cold. There was no sound, no movement, only silence. And one lonely figure standing at the very edge. She was not human. Her skin shimmered like silver blue metal, glowing faintly in the dark. Her eyes held galaxies, but they were empty now. Tired, she stood barefoot, her long robe flowing like liquid light. Her name was Alara, and she was the last of her kind. Her world was gone, burned in a war she could not win. Her people were dead, taken by a silent enemy that attacked minds. Not with weapons, but with thoughts. She had run for years, hiding in abandoned ships, broken stations, and dead zones in space. Now she had reached the end, the edge of the void. Below her, nothing waited. No planet, no gravity, no air. Just a cold death that would welcome her quietly. She looked down, feeling the pull of it. One step, and it would be over. Her heart, if it could still be called that, beat slowly. Her kind had no gods, no heaven, no hell, only the stars and silence. And now, even the stars had turned away from her. She closed her eyes, took a deep breath, and stepped forward. Wait. Voice was soft, human. It did not shout. It didn't need to. Alara stopped. Just before her foot left the platform, her eyes opened. She turned slowly, confused. A figure stood behind her, wearing a dark spacesuit. Helmet off, a human male, maybe in his 30s, calm eyes, a tired smile. His ship was small, hidden behind a nearby rock, invisible until now. He must have been watching her. She frowned, confused and cautious. "How did you find me?" she asked, her voice smooth but hollow. "I was passing by," he replied. "Didn't expect to see anyone here, especially not standing like that. You should leave," she said quietly. "This is not your place." "Maybe," he said, taking a step closer. "But maybe it is." Alara tilted her head, curious but guarded. She had met humans before, long ago, some kind, some cruel. Most didn't understand her people, and none cared. "Why do you speak to me?" she asked. "You don't know who I am. You're someone who's about to give up," the man said. "And I've been there before." His voice was steady, but Alara saw something in his eyes. Pain, hidden but real. A memory he didn't want to share. "You don't understand," she said, turning back toward the void. "There is no hope left. Not for me, not for my kind. Everything is gone." "Then tell me why," he said, not moving. "Let me hear your story, and if I still think there's no hope, I'll walk away." Silence again. Even space seemed to pause. Alara looked at the stars, then back at him. Something in his presence, his stillness, his voice, made her hesitate. She stepped back from the edge, slowly, not trusting, but not jumping. "Not yet. My name is Alara," she said softly. "I was born on a planet called Nix 47. Far beyond your maps. It was green, alive, peaceful." She looked down, her voice trembling slightly. "We did not fight. We did not build weapons. We lived in harmony with nature, with thought." "Thought?" the man asked. "We spoke with our minds," she said. "We shared memories, dreams, even feelings. No lies, no secrets. Sounds beautiful," he said. "It was," she whispered, "until the shadows came." The man raised an eyebrow. "Shadows?" "They weren't ships or people, or anything we could see," she explained. "They were thoughts, twisted thoughts, dark and powerful. They entered minds and poisoned them. They made us hate, fear, attack each other, even kill, and those who survived went mad." The man looked shaken. "And you?" "I ran," she said bitterly. "Coward, survivor, traitor, call it what you like. I watched my planet fall into madness, and I escaped in an old science vessel. For years, I hid." She continued, "But now, I feel it too. The darkness, the voices whispering, always whispering." She looked at him, her eyes glowing softly. "I don't want to hurt anyone, not even you." The man took a deep breath, then smiled, just a little. "You're not a coward, Alara," he said. "You're a fighter, just tired. And if those whispers are still chasing you, then maybe it's time someone fought them back. She stared at him, unsure. You can't stop them. Maybe not alone, he said, but together? Maybe we stand a chance. For a long moment, she said nothing. Then for the first time in years, her lips curved slightly. Not a full smile, but the ghost of one. She stepped fully away from the edge. I don't even know your name. She said, call me Jack, he said, just Jack. And in the vast silence of space, something changed. Two lost souls, standing at the edge of the void and choosing to turn back. Together, Jack didn't speak for a long time. He just stood beside Alara, watching the stars, like old friends who didn't speak anymore. The silence between them wasn't heavy. Now it was waiting, like the universe itself had paused to listen. Then quietly he said, so what happens now? Alara didn't answer at first. She was still staring at the empty space where she almost ended everything. Her heart felt strange. Not warm, not cold, just ... Unsure, like it had forgotten how to feel and was trying to remember. You should leave, she finally said. I'm dangerous, Jack. He smiled slightly, not looking at her. You said that already, and you didn't listen, she replied. A little sharper this time. You don't understand what I am, then. Tell me, he said simply. Help me understand, Alara turned, walking slowly away from the edge. She sat on the cold surface of the platform, pulling her knees close. Her voice was soft, but it echoed in the silence. We were called the Eliari, she began. Starburn. Dreamweavers, the galaxy used to whisper our name with wonder. Jack sat down across from her, his face calm, listening. Alara continued. We had no armies, no kings, no war machines. We didn't need them. We lived through connection, minds linked in harmony. We could feel each other's joy, pain, memories. She touched her head gently. No lies, no secrets, no loneliness. Jack raised an eyebrow. Sounds perfect. It was, she said, her voice cracking just a little. Until something broke the link. She looked at him now, eyes darker than before. It came from beyond our reach, not a ship, not a species, not even a sound. It was like a thought that didn't belong, a virus made of despair. It spread through our network like wildfire. Jack leaned forward, his voice quiet. What did it do? It twisted our minds, she whispered. Turned truth into lies, love into hate, peace into fear. We began to isolate, break the links. Then came the madness, and the violence. Her hands trembled slightly. I watched my sister tear out her own mind to escape the voices. My father burned our memory room, screaming that it was lying to him, and my mother. She just vanished. Jack didn't speak, not because he didn't know what to say, but because he knew some pain doesn't want words. Alara wiped her face with the edge of her sleeve. I was one of the few whose mind resisted. Maybe I was weaker, or maybe luckier. I ran. I found an old science vessel orbiting a dead moon. I escaped, and I kept escaping. How long? Jack asked gently. 17 years, she replied. Alone. He let out a breath, slow and deep. I've seen people break after 17 days, he said. And you're still standing. Barely, she replied with a bitter smile. But I'm tired, Jack. I don't even know who I am without them, without the link. I'm just empty. Jack looked up at the stars, then back at her. Well, he said, that makes two of us. Alara blinked, confused. You lost someone? He nodded slowly. Earth isn't what it used to be. We were attacked by something we called the Shroud. A psychic fog, he explained. It didn't speak, didn't destroy cities. It just made people stop caring, stop fighting, stop living. It was like watching the light go out in their eyes one by one. He tapped the side of his helmet. Some of us resisted. Maybe we had something broken in our minds already. Maybe that saved. U.S. Alara stared at him, something in her chest tightening. She didn't expect this, a human, a species known for war and chaos, telling her a story that sounded just like her own. You're like me, she said, softly. Not exactly. He replied, "You're smarter, prettier, and glowing." She laughed, just once. A soft sound, quick and strange. She had forgotten what laughter felt like. Jack grinned. "There it is," he said. "Proof you're still alive." Alara shook her head, the smile fading. "I don't know how to rebuild, Jack. I don't even know what to fight." "You don't have to fight it alone," he said. "I've got a ship, food, warmth, and a brain that's too stubborn to break." He stood up and offered her a hand. "Come with me, Alara. Let's figure this out together." She looked at his hand, then at his face. There was no lie in his voice, no fear, just quiet strength. She took his hand, and for the first time in years, she didn't feel completely alone. They walked toward the small ship hidden in shadow. Two survivors, two broken minds. But maybe, just maybe, not broken forever. As the ship door closed behind them, Alara whispered, "If there is still hope, Jack, then I want to find it." And far away, in a forgotten corner of space, something else stirred, something watching, waiting. The ship felt too quiet, not the normal silence of space. This silence was thick, like a blanket wrapped too tight around the mind. It pressed in from every wall, every corner, every breath. Alara noticed it first. She stopped walking inside the hallway of Jack's ship, her eyes narrowing. "This ship," she whispered, "it remembers something." Jack raised an eyebrow. "It's a ship, not a diary." Alara shook her head. "Not like that. Your walls, your systems, your air, they've been touched." Jack looked around, suddenly alert. The ship hummed quietly, normal engines, normal lights, but something was off. He couldn't explain it, but he trusted her instincts now. "What do you feel?" he asked. Alara closed her eyes, placing her hand on the metal wall. She didn't speak for a moment. Then her voice came low, steady. "There's a whisper, hiding under the silence. It's like something passed through here and left its shadow behind." Jack frowned. "No," she said. "Something older, something more focused. This isn't a fog, Jack. It's a message." Jack crossed his arms, thinking he wasn't psychic, not like her. But he had experienced enough strange things in the void to know one rule. If something whispers, it wants to be heard. "Where does it come from?" he asked. Alara opened her eyes, glowing faintly. "Your memory room." Jack's face went still. "You mean the data vault?" "Yes," she said quietly, "but I don't think it's just data anymore." They walked quickly now, passing metal walls that seemed colder with every step. The memory room was at the center of the ship. Jack had stored old Earth logs there. Stories, voices, fragments of history that he wanted to protect. But now, even before they reached the door, he could hear it. A soft clicking sound, like teeth chattering in the dark. Was that always there? Alara asked, her voice tight. Jack shook his head. No. The door opened with a hiss. Inside, the screens were glowing, but they were showing nothing. Just static, gray, buzzing static. Alara stepped forward. Suddenly, her knees buckled. She fell hard, hands on her head, gasping, "Alara!" Jack rushed to her side, grabbing her shoulders. Her eyes were wide, glowing too bright. Her voice came broken, like glass grinding together. "They're still here," she whispered. "They're inside, hiding in the quiet, waiting for my mind to open." Jack held her tight. "Then close it," he said. "Don't let them in." She shook her head, tears falling now. "I can't, Jack. They're not talking to me. They're remembering through me." Jack looked around the room, heart pounding. This wasn't just static. It was a signal, an echo left behind. Something had used her as a door before, and now it wanted to come back through. "What do they want?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Alara's lips trembled. "They want silence," she said. "Pure silence. No thoughts, no dreams, no voices. They fear light, laughter, connection. They want the universe to go quiet forever." Jack clenched his fists. "No," he said. "Not on my ship, not in my head, not again." He reached into his tool belt, pulling out a small neural blocker, a device once used to protect soldiers from psychic interference. He pressed it gently against the side of her neck. The glow in her eyes dimmed. Her body stopped shaking. She breathed again. Slow and steady. Jack ... She said weakly, "You saved me." He helped her sit up. "I just gave you a break," he said. "But this thing, this war, it's still happening, isn't it?" She nodded. "It never stopped. You can't see it, but it's around us. Like radio waves, only sharper. It whispers into empty hearts, lonely minds, quiet ships." Jack looked around his ship. It had been his home for years. Now it felt like a trap. Then how do we fight it? He asked. Alara looked at him. "We don't fight it with weapons. We fight it with thought. Shared thought. Strong minds. You're not like me, Jack, but your mind. It's strong, it burns." Jack raised an eyebrow. "Are you saying I'm stubborn?" She smiled weakly. "I'm saying you might be fire in the dark." Jack stood up. "Then let's burn something." He walked to the screen, connected his neural scanner to the static feed. Alara closed her eyes again, focusing. Not opening her mind, but shielding it. Together, they watched the static shift. Lines formed, then symbols, not human. Not Alyari, but something else, a message repeating. "The mind is the battlefield, silence is the enemy." Jack stared at it. "Then let's make some noise," he whispered. And somewhere deep in the universe, the enemy stirred, listening. Jack had never opened his mind to anyone before, not fully. Not even back when Earth was burning and survival meant trusting people you didn't know. But here he was, standing in the dim core of his ship, staring at an alien girl who wasn't even sure she should be alive, and saying the words, "You can come in." Alara looked at him like he had just offered her a key to something sacred, something dangerous. "You understand what you're offering?" She asked softly. Jack nodded. "No, but I trust you." That silence again, not the creepy kind from before. This one was heavier, warmer. It meant something was about to change. "I don't want to hurt you," she whispered. "My memories are not safe. They're broken, poisoned, infected with things no mind should see." "And yet," Jack said, stepping closer, "you carry them every day. Let me carry them for just a moment. Maybe together we can pull something good out of them." She hesitated, then lifted her fingers gently to his temple. Her touch was soft, colder than human skin, but not uncomfortable, just different. And then the ship disappeared. Jack opened his eyes to a field of stars. But these were not normal stars. They were alive. Each one pulsed with emotion, memory, pain, joy, love, screams, silence. He was inside her mind. Alara stood next to him, but not quite as she was in the real world. Here, she wore a flowing cloak made of starlight. Her eyes glowed like twin suns, and her voice echoed not in sound, but in thought. "This is my memory stream," she said. "Every moment I lived, every soul I touched, every scream I couldn't stop." Jack felt like he was floating in a sea of light and shadow. Images swirled around them, fast, chaotic, fragments of a world long gone. A little girl chasing glowing birds, a group of Elyari meditating around a crystal tree, a celebration, laughter shared without speaking, then fire, screams, voices turning sharp, angry, infected. Jack felt it all at once, the terror of a civilization tearing itself apart, the confusion of feeling foreign thoughts in your mind, the guilt of surviving. He dropped to one knee, gasping. Alara reached out, steadying him. "I told you," she said. "It's too much." Jack looked up at her. "No, I see it now. Not just pain. There was beauty, real, powerful beauty." She nodded, eyes distant. "We were happy once. Our lives were one song, thousands of minds dancing in harmony. But the enemy doesn't attack the body. It attacks the connection." Suddenly, the light shifted. A new memory formed, one Alara didn't expect. She frowned. "I don't remember this." Jack turned to see it. A quiet room, warm light. A young Alara, barely more than a child, sat in front of a tall Elyari woman, her mother. The woman's voice echoed gently. "Alara, if you ever find yourself alone, truly alone, listen closely. You are more than one mind. You are memory, light and fire. Jack watched Alara step closer, eyes wide. My mother. She left this for me? She knew you'd survive, Jack said. Standing beside her, she knew you'd carry the fire. Tears fell from her glowing eyes, but this time, they weren't just from sadness. There was something else, hope. The memory faded slowly. The stars calmed. Jack blinked and found himself back on the ship's floor. Alara sat across from him, breathing hard but smiling faintly. You okay? He asked, rubbing his head. She nodded. Yes. I thought all my good memories were gone, but you helped me find one I didn't know was still alive. Jack smirked. That's what I do, dig around in messy places and find things worth keeping. Their laughter was soft, shared, real, and in that moment, something shifted. It wasn't just about surviving anymore. It wasn't about running, or hiding, or ending it all. They had found something together, a truth, a spark, that even when memories are poisoned, there's still a part that stays pure, untouched. Waiting, but unknown to them, as their bond grew, the enemy had felt it, a ripple in the dark, an unexpected light, and it had started watching again, preparing. The next move was coming. And this time, it wouldn't whisper, it would scream, asterisk. It started with a dream that wasn't hers. Alara opened her eyes, but she wasn't in the ship. She was standing inside a room that pulsed like a living heart. The walls were breathing, slow and heavy. A voice whispered her name, not in sound, but in thought. She turned, but saw no one, only shadows long, sharp, unnatural. She blinked, and the walls bled. Then she woke up, screaming. Jack rushed in from the control room, holding a pulse light and breathing hard. Alara! He shouted. What happened? She was shaking, drenched in sweat. Her skin, usually silver blue, flickered with dark patches. They're inside, she gasped. I don't know how, but they're inside me now. Jack froze, then slowly knelt down beside her. Inside ... your mind? No, she whispered. Worse, they're in my thoughts. They're using my memories, my emotions, and now they're learning you. Jack's jaw tightened. He had faced danger before. Pirates, void storms, dying planets. But this was something else. This was war with something that didn't need guns to kill. He stood up and activated the neuroshield protocol. Light walls rose around the med bay, humming with psychic resistance. Then we trap it, he said. Here, inside the one place it thinks it knows best. You. Alara looked at him, confused and afraid. You don't understand. If it anchors to me, I lose control. I could turn into something I can't stop. Jack's eyes were steady. Then I'll stop you. Alara blinked, hurt by his words, until she realized what he meant. Not a threat, but a promise. He would fight her, for her, if he had to. She nodded and lay back. Let's begin. Jack sat beside her and connected the mind-link device again. But this time, they weren't exploring memories. They were going in to fight. The moment the link activated, Jack was pulled into darkness. No stars, no space. Just a swirling void filled with whispers that grew louder every second. He saw Alara, floating in the middle, her form shifting. Part Eliari, part shadow. Her face twisted in pain, her hands reaching out but not for help. For him. Jack, she said. But it wasn't her voice. It was deeper, crueler. Why do you fight? She's already ours. Jack clenched his fists. You're wrong, he said. She's stronger than you think. The shadows laughed. We are her strength now. Her mind is tired. She let us in because she wanted to forget. Jack stepped forward. Maybe, but I'm here now, and I don't forget. The shadows lunged, trying to pull him into the void. But Jack's thoughts flared bright. Memories of Earth, of resistance, of fire and stubborn hope. He didn't have psychic powers. He had something worse, human rage, and it burned. The shadows screamed. They weren't ready for that. Jack grabbed Alara's hand in the void and shouted, Come back! Remember who you are. She opened her eyes, and the shadows flickered. Then she screamed. A raw, broken sound, and the shadows exploded into light. They both fell back into the real world, gasping. The neuroshield sparked and shut down. Smoke filled the med bay. Jack rolled over, coughing. "Alara?" He called out, voice weak. She was lying still, eyes open, breathing shallow. Her skin returned to normal, the darkness gone, but something else had changed. "I saw it," she whispered. "The heart of the enemy." Jack sat up. "What was it?" She turned her head slowly. "It's not a being, Jack. It's a hive. A mind made from dead thoughts, broken memories, pain. It doesn't think. It feeds on loneliness, on silence, on loss." Jack nodded. "That's why it's after you, and maybe after me too." She looked at him, eyes shining with new clarity. "But now we know what it fears. Connection, emotion, us." Jack stood up, offering his hand again. "So what do we do?" Alara took it, standing with him. "We go back in. But next time, we don't fight it in my mind." He raised an eyebrow. "Then where?" She smiled, a fierce, determined smile. "We take the fight to its mind." Far away, in the cold edges of space, something trembled. It had been the hunter for so long. But for the first time in its ancient existence, it was being hunted. They didn't sleep that night, not because they couldn't, but because they shouldn't. Sleep was when the enemy whispered loudest. Sleep was where it waited, pulling thoughts apart thread by thread. So Jack and Alara sat in silence, not broken, but focused. There was no plan yet, no clear path, only a feeling. Like something was waking up inside both of them. Alara stared at the core screen of the ship. Its glow lit her silver blue face, tired but alive. "There's something I never told you," she said, without turning. Jack leaned back in the pilot seat, arms crossed. "I figured. You've got that ancient secret vibe." She smiled faintly. "Before the fall, my people created a weapon, not one made of fire or metal, but of thought." Jack raised an eyebrow. "You mean a psychic bomb?" "No," she said, shaking her head. "More like a spark, one memory, powerful enough to light thousands of minds, to break the infection and reconnect our kind." Jack sat up straighter. "You're saying your people had a cure?" "They had hope," she replied, "but it was never activated. Because the moment the shadows touched our minds, we lost trust. And when trust is gone, the spark dies." Jack stared at her, something clicking in his mind. "But you remembered it now," he said. "In the memory room with your mother's voice." Alara nodded slowly. "It's still inside me. Buried, hidden, protected. But I can't activate it alone." Jack stood and walked over. "Then we do it together." She looked up at him, uncertain. "It could burn us both," he smiled. "Then we burn together, but we try." They moved to the center of the ship where the mind-link console sat waiting. This time, there was no fear, just purpose. Jack placed his hand on one side. Alara placed hers on the other. Their minds touched again. But this time, they weren't diving into her pain. They were reaching deeper. A storm of memory swept around them. Colors, sounds, pieces of lost worlds. And then, they found it. A small orb of light, buried deep in Alara's subconscious. Flickering, fragile, but still alive. Jack reached for it, and pain hit him. Like a wave, voices screamed, shadows clawed. The enemy knew what they were doing, and it was afraid. Alara held his hand in the memory space. "Don't let go, Jack, no matter what happens." He gritted his teeth. "I didn't come this far to quit." Together, they touched the orb, and everything exploded into light. The ship shuddered in real space, alarms flashing, but not from damage, from energy. The psychic field around them lit up like a dying star. Outside, space itself rippled. The infection, the enemy, began to scream. Not in words, in pain. Inside the link, Jack saw her memories not as a storm, but as a map. Every connection, every lost bond, and then it spread. The spark traveled outward, carrying not fear, but emotion, memory, love. Ships floating in ghost space lit up. Dead Eliari tech flickered with sudden life. And somewhere far away, on a forgotten moon, A transmitter reactivated. Alara gasped. It's working. Jack smiled through the pain. You lit the fire. But then, something slammed into the link. A final push from the enemy. Desperate, hateful. A last attempt to stop the signal. The connection faltered. Jack stumbled, mind-bleeding energy. Alara cried out, her form flickering. Jack turned to her in the mindspace. I can hold it, he said. You finish the link. She shook her head. You'll die, he smiled. Only if you don't finish it. Tears streamed down her glowing cheeks, but she did it. She stepped into the light and gave it everything. Her past, her grief, her love, her truth. The signal roared to life. The enemy shattered, and then silence. But not the cold silence from before. This one felt clean, new. Alara opened her eyes. She was on the floor of the ship, heart pounding, body weak. And Jack was lying beside her, unconscious. Jack, she whispered, crawling to him. He didn't answer. She held his face, checking for breath. Yes, faint, but alive, and in that fragile moment, she smiled. Because the spark had lit more than just old tech. It had lit her, it had lit him, and maybe, just maybe, it had lit the galaxy again. Asterisk, it began where it almost ended. The same platform, the same edge, the same cold stars watching from above. But this time, she wasn't alone, and this time, she wasn't looking down. Alara stood at the edge of the void again, not to jump, but to remember. Jack sat behind her, still recovering, wrapped in a survival blanket and sipping hot Zynth tea. He looked terrible, but he was breathing and smiling. Déjà vu, he said with a tired grin. But you're standing taller this time. Alara glanced back at him, her silver blue skin glowing under the soft light of dawn. Not a real dawn, but a simulation from the ship's lighting system. Her request. She said she missed the feeling of a new day. I thought I had to die to stop it, she whispered. But now I see, I had to live, Jack nodded. That's what humans do best, keep going, even when everything says stop. She turned toward him, her voice softer. Why do you do that, Jack? You risked everything for someone you didn't. No, he shrugged. Because someone once did that for me. She tilted her head, curious. Did it save you? He smiled. No, but it gave me a reason to save myself. A long silence followed. But it wasn't heavy. It was full. Like the pause between chapters, not the end of the story. The mind-link device was quiet now. The spark had done its work. Alara could still feel it pulsing inside her, not loud, but steady. Like a heartbeat across the galaxy. Eliari technology was reawakening. Old memory trees flickered back to life. Silent ships came online, waiting for voices that might never return, but maybe, just maybe. Someone was listening. Alara opened her palm, revealing a small crystal, her mother's memory fragment. It pulsed with gentle light. She held it close to her heart, then placed it gently on the edge of the platform. A goodbye? Jack asked. She shook her head. A beginning. Suddenly, a soft beep echoed from the ship's console. Jack stood slowly, wincing from the soreness, and tapped the screen. Then he froze. What is it? Alara asked, his eyes widened. You need to see this. She rushed over, and her breath caught. On the display was a signal, weak but clear. Eliari code, old and barely readable. But the signature was unmistakable, her brother's name, Alara. Stared at the screen, hands shaking. He's alive, she whispered. He's alive. Jack blinked. Wait, your brother? The one you thought? Yes, she said, voice breaking into a laugh that sounded like joy and disbelief mixed together. He must have activated his beacon when the spark reached him. Jack smiled, wide and real. You just changed the galaxy. Alara turned to him. They had changed it, together. She looked out at the stars. And for the first time in 17 years, they didn't look cold. They looked like home. I didn't jump, she said quietly, but maybe now. I'll fly, Jack chuckled. Well, you better let me ride shotgun. She offered him her hand, and he took it. Together, they stepped back inside the ship. The door closed, the engines hummed, And in the silence that followed, the galaxy began to breathe again.